Okay, guys, this is Chad with Haunt News Network, and we have captured Kelvin Alvey of Gore Galore out of
Captured.
his shop, and just for a few minutes to sit down and talk with us and tell us what he's got going, what he's been doing lately, and what he's preparing for. So, Kevin, thank you very much for joining us tonight and taking your precious time with to talk to all of our haunt geeks.
Oh, my pleasure. Very much my pleasure.
Awesome. So, Kevin, in 1 to 2 minutes or less, I don't know if this is possible, but could you uh, share some highlights of your career with our haunt geeks?
Uh, well, I kind of introduced to the haunt industry by I was working at a haunted house and heard about the Transworld show and actually ended up going as a buyer for Newburgh Civitan Haunted House. And that kind of introduced me to Transworld. And then while I was there, it was just like I really need to be really involved in this. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the next year I was a vendor and started vending.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. That was 20 years ago, this Transworld show.
Oh, that's awesome. That
So
is that is really
and it,
awesome. And Transworld's been in St. Louis for 10 years of those 20 years.
yeah, that in itself is, a pretty major accomplishment.
Yeah.
Just just being in the industry and not having a horrible reputation.
No.
So many of us do. All it takes is one bad thing to happen, and you kind of get a bad reputation, and so kind of feel pretty lucky. We've done pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was 20 years ago, this Transworld.
Yes.
Um, Tell us, you know, what was your very first product you were so proud to bring out on that Transworld show floor and put out for sale? And did you sell them? Did you sell one? Did you sell 200? What was that like?
The very first product were the first year were those head boxes. They were uh, they were oxyacetylene welded steel cubes out of angle iron, and they had each one had a severed head in it, a different severed head in different motorized kind of animations. So one was called the hammerhead box. So it had a motorized hammer that would come down and smack the head. Then the head would shake. And it would kind of
Wow.
crazy. Another one was a dizzy box and the head would spin. Another one was a barf box and it was a head mounted over a bucket. And so it would puke in the bucket. So and we had a series of 5 of those. And we'd sell as a whole set or singularly. And there are people today that contact me and say, "Hey, my head box still works."
Oh,
So
wow.
a lot of those are still around. If you ask people, hey, what about do you still have a Gorgle or head box? And I guarantee you, almost all of them still work. And there's got to be hundreds, easy hundreds of them around somewhere because they
Wow.
still work. It's just a motor, it's not pneumatic or anything,
Sure.
just simple stuff. Head
So
box.
bring us to that Transworld show that first year though. Like, you've got these 5 variations of something similar, and are were people just like buying them off the shelf? Like, I've never seen anything like this. Was it rough for you in the beginning? I mean, just what was that like? Because Transworld was
Dude,
huge. I can't imagine, stepping onto that floor for the first time and saying, "Here's what I got."
well, I, of course, the sales were not good. As a matter of fact, I was eating peanut butter and jelly, ramen noodles. I was working a 60-hour a week job. On the side, I was painting houses for a friend of mine or a landlord. I was mowing lawns. I was doing everything I could to just, make my ends meet and then put money back to go to trade show next year. And I just kept doing that for a couple years. The first year, I think I might have sold $5,000 worth of those boxes. That might have been the first year.
Wow.
Then the next year, I did triple that. And the next year, it just kind of continued to progress, but it progressed very fast. So within 2 years, I was working independently. I wasn't no second job, just doing gore galore. So I mean, it kind of happened pretty fast, but it wasn't the first year or second year. It was kind of like the third and fourth that it started to kind of take off.
Sure.
And
Well,
then
that's
we kind of found what we were about. It took a while to really kind of figure out where we were meant to be, where our slot was.
yeah. You found your niche,
Yeah, the giant costumes.
right?
And the weird thing about that, the neat thing about that is that it was really a sit down trying to figure out, okay, what can we do that, and I don't want to insult the industry by saying this, but what can we do that's something that not everybody could just knock off? What could we do that was complicated enough that people would want one, but wouldn't just go home and make their own?
Right.
I mean, anybody can, sculpt a severed head and make a severed head, but how many people can really build a giant costume? They can do them out of PVC and that kind of thing. But that was really, I love puppetry. So I knew that I wanted to do something puppet related. Had to be puppets, actor focused puppets, because that's where I excelled. That's where I enjoyed being in the haunt industry, working at a haunted house. Is I love building puppets.
Right.
And so that's how we contributed. So even that show, we had one of the giant 15-foot puppets that we created for the Newburgh haunted house was in the booth. Big naked old guy. We sculpted
Naked
him
on purpose.
naked on purpose. I think when we had him at the show, he wasn't naked. I shouldn't say that because he probably was. Knowing me, I probably didn't put a costume on him. But it was just a big kind of yellow green guy that we called Spooky Ernie. And then we did another one that was a robot. So those were flanking, 15-foot tall in the dark zone. We've got lights shooting up on those. We've got lights shining up on pillars. And then we have the 5 torture boxes down the front. That was it. That was all that we had. And we weren't even selling the big ones. They were just there for attract attention. And if somebody wanted to buy one, the price was beyond what anybody could afford because I didn't want to make another one. So they had to be hand built. I was sculpting them out. We were doing it out of beadboard and styrofoam and 2x4s and coating it in fiberglass, and it just wasn't something we wanted anybody to buy. We just wanted to make them. So I didn't want to make it again. So we set a high price so it would just draw attention, but then nobody would want to buy one, and then they would focus on the head boxes. So that's what we sold for the first year. Logic, I don't know, but that's what we did.
Well, it worked. That's all that matters, right?
It got me in. It got me in.
Right.
But
so, thank you for sharing that, because even something you touched on before of, you went in there with the mindset of making something that basically wasn't easily knocked off. And unfortunately, I don't think it's a bad thing to say about the industry, because it's just, some people can say, that's the highest form of flattery, right? Is somebody to imitate what you're doing. Now,
right.
I can see that, as an artist and as a creator, that can be not so flattering, kind of annoying, because you put your heart and soul into this, and now somebody just sees it, knocks it off, and makes it cheaper or whatever. We see that in a lot of other conventions, and even Transworld. Sometimes you'll see it the next year or something. Maybe it's not necessarily an improve, but something different. But it's just, I think that's just the nature of this industry. It's full of artists, and you all, what do you want to say? Like, you feed off of each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say we feed off the same fruit.
Right.
It's all the same. It's all the same vine. We get all of the same ideas from the same places. In a way. A couple years ago, remember we came out with all of those kind of mechanical hands and mechanical weapons. It was from a movie that we had all watched, like this entire industry watched, Frankenstein's Army. And I was jazzed. I thought that movie was the greatest thing. I thought, not that the movie was great, but the background and the characters I thought were really just really inventive and really blew me away. So it's like, oh, let's do some things kind of inspired by this. Well, about 4 different vendors did the same thing. Ours were bigger than everybody else's, but theirs moved. Ours didn't because they were so massive. We would put if we would have put a motor in them, you would have had to drag them on the ground because they would have been that heavy. Because we do bigger is better, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Bigger is better. But ours were so big we couldn't get them to work, so we had
Wow.
just weld them together and not have them spin. You know, everybody's using drills and stuff and making
Yeah.
it work that way. But we all feed off that same creative place. You know, watching video games and watching movies and you know, you kind of find your inspiration that way. Sometimes it's not hard. I mean, it's really hard to find it just internally. You know, it's we're finding it externally, and then we bring it in, and then interpret it,
Right.
and
I think that's
that's
the
kind of
key
how
is
it works.
interpretation.
Yeah,
It's everybody's interpretation of what they saw that
right,
makes it unique to you.
right. And then some people just copy it, but that's you know that I there's something going around right now that was a Unit 70 piece that they did, the Krampus holding the little kid,
Yep.
and now a Chinese manufacturer basically copied that. And you kind of think that's a problem, but if you and I don't like it, but the person that's going to buy that $200 one, $300 one is not going to buy the $3,000 one. It's a whole different market.
Right.
It's a whole different customer base. So it's not really, I don't know. That kind of begs a question for me sometimes. I don't know if it's really an issue. If there's another vendor, and the other thing is, I want other vendors to think about this. If you make the best quality product, you're still going to be getting sales. The one that's making the knockoff, that's cheaper in price, and they're going to make some sales. But when other people start comparing their work to yours, your sales go up because now they've just proven that you make the best product. And people do, some people want the cheaper product. Most people want the best product. Not everybody,
Absolutely.
but most. So a competitor coming in and offering something similar doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be hurt. Um, I can honestly say that actually helped my business one year when that happened, and my giant costume sales went up 25% that year over the previous year, and I
Wow.
know it was because of another vendor having done that. So
Well,
sometimes
you do
kind of
get
like,
what you
yeah,
pay for. I'm a firm believer in that.
right. It's the truth. I mean, you know, you really do. So it's a good thing. And like I said, most people are smart and aware of that. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, how has Transworld actually evolved over your career as an exhibitor? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, Transworld, I mean, I've done the Halloween party show, which is when Transworld had all the other like the party expo and all of that was all still in one, and that was all in Chicago.
Yep.
And I did that, and it's a whole different ball game. And I really wish that people would really appreciate what they have now, because there are buyers that sit in on phone calls now with Transworld with as a board. There's a board of directors and they're all buyers. And there's a board and they're all vendors. And what does that mean? It means Transworld is listening to us. They want to know. They want our involvement to make decisions. Back then, that's not anything that I was involved in. I mean, they might have still done that. I don't know. But now it just feels like that, you know, if I've got a problem, I just call and we talk, you know, we work it out, or we figure it out, or we find some way of working together. So it's a whole different level of involvement and caring. You know, they just really want the the whole point of it is that they want the vendors to be successful. They want the buyers to be successful. That's how they create a successful show. And that's what, you know, when I hear people talk smack about Transworld, it's like, hey, the whole point is they want everybody to have a good show, and that's how they have a good show. They make money when everybody else is happy. That's how it works.
Right.
And I don't think people catch that sometimes. It's like they're working for us. They're making money off of it, of course. Why else would they do it? It's a trade show. They can't do it and lose money. They have to make a living off of it. That's how they continue to be in business. So, but understanding that relationship is pretty crucial. That they're here for us. They're here to create a great experience for everyone. And they always try. Not everything always works. Things go wrong. So they don't do that same thing again next year. You got to learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just make brand new ones, but you can't keep moving forward if you're not trying something new. Just sometimes the new things don't always work.
Right.
So, you kind of got a little back and forth, just a little back and forth to find the right one. Then when you learn, then you move forward again. So that's what we're dealing with. It's just a growing show. And there's some crazy stuff happening this year. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing some of that and being involved in some of that too, being both a 10-year anniversary and a 20-year anniversary. We're trying to figure out what we can do together to kind of help both of us, blow it up, I guess.
Yeah, and that's awesome that we're hitting all these interviews like this because, like I told you last year or last week was Ed, and it's 40 years for him.
I know it.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's 20 years for you. It's just great timing. It's working out well. So I'm excited to see what Gore Galore is coming out with. On their 20-year anniversary. And with that being said, is there anything that we can expect from Gore Galore Transworld?
I'll tell you this. Last year you saw the little alien, which was the small actomatronics.
Yep.
So, and we only had one, just the alien, just the one small actomatronic. This year we will have 5 different ones. And
Wow.
and those sales, I mean, we ended up, we also had the rat, which we didn't have on the floor. And we kind of, while we were at the show, we figured out, hey, we could do this other one too. So we started telling people about it. Well, we were getting sales for it, and we didn't even have it there. We ended
Oh,
up selling 20 of those, 20 rats, 20 aliens. They really did well for us, and customers have been pretty happy with them. We still have to, every year you're still learning.
sure.
So the quality of them's better this year than it was last year. They were still just fine, but we had a few things go wrong with them. We fixed them, but things don't always work out perfect when you're still trying to figure something out. So, but we'll have 5 different models this year. So
Wow.
I'll tell you what we got, and this might be exciting for people. We'll have the alien again, the little alien creature. Then we have a rat. We're gonna have a snake. We're gonna have a little goat head, and I shouldn't say little because it's still 4 times the size of a regular goat head. And we're gonna have an alligator snapping turtle.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
And they're gonna be really cool, and they're a 2-foot hole, and they just pop out a hole in the wall, and they just people had such ease of installation and no pneumatics. So all you had to do was hook up electric and a throttle, like motorcycle throttle controlled. So you just rotate the throttle, and if you just bounce it, then the mouth just kind of bounces up and down, bounces open. Little weird little things we learned. Audio's built into it, so you literally we send you everything, and all you have to do
Wow.
is hang this eye bolt, and then it's mounted. That's all you got to do is mount an eye bolt and hang it. Done. Cut your
And
hole in the wall.
yeah, and is that a direct result of things that customers were requesting of you? I mean, you said bigger is better, but there are some areas that I'm sure some customers can't use that large of a product that you build, correct? So are
Exactly.
you scaling that back because of that?
Well, it's you learn. You kind of live and learn. Let me ask you this question: can I get bigger than our big acrometronics?
Wow. I don't think so. I mean, that
Now,
they're as big as they can get.
they're as big as they can get. So we thought, okay, well, not everybody can afford the big acromatronics, but we want more haunted houses to have the ability to scare people with these crazy, more animalistic creatures, because that's what we tend to be doing with the acromatronics is animals, real animals, things that you would find, in different places. So that's where we've been kind of going with that. So we just thought, okay, well, this will be a third of the price. And it's easy to install, so it's a bigger market, and more people can use it. So it's just trying to provide something for everybody, and
Right.
that's really what it is. Trying
Well,
to make
that's
sure everybody can have something.
yeah. Thank you for giving that little sneak peek to our honky because that's awesome. I'm sure that's going to create a buzz. People are going to start talking uh, more anticipation as they go to Transworld. So
I hope so. I hope so.
thank you.
You'll have to come see them, and we will have a wall of them. They
Okay.
will all be mounted and all be operating at the same time.
Oh wow.
So we figured out a way that we're going to have two people behind a wall, and they basically just push them through the wall and then pull them back. And then you go down to the next one, push it through the wall and pull it back. So they'll be able to see all five of them working simultaneously. And I think
Wow.
that's going to be kind of fun. Audio all going. It'll be a little crazy. For sure, but it should work, and that's what I'm hoping for. Just to be able to work. That's all. That's all I ask for. Just work, please. So it
Well,
should be good.
knowing you, I'm sure there won't be any issues, and even if there are, you'll work them out before that first person walks through that door.
That's the hope and the plan.
Yeah.
Doesn't always go that way. Sorry.
Well,
Right.
it's a facade then because it doesn't. It looks like it always goes smoothly from the outside. I'll tell you that.
There you go. Good. That's all we
So,
need.
thank you again, Kevin, for taking time talking to us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you again for the little tidbit and clues on what you're bringing. But is there one last little piece of advice you could give? Maybe it's a first year vendor that's coming to Transworld or a new vendor that's never been. Is there a piece of advice you could give them that might make their stay and trek to Transworld a little easier?
Um, I'll give you a couple little things. One thing I will say is don't leave anything in your car that people can see. That's number one. Um, you do know that the convention center actually bought the parking lots surrounding the convention center, so there is going to be more security and stuff now.
Sure.
But in the past, a lot of break-ins.
Yep.
But don't leave stuff on the seat in your car. Hide everything. That's number one. Number two is just have fun, because you know bring stuff. If you're a vendor, bring stuff that will make people happy and have a good time. Those are a couple good things because they see that. Don't sit down. Always be standing. Always be smiling. Don't eat in front of anybody. Eat in the dark. Eat behind the wall. Don't be sitting there eating because people are polite. They don't want to interrupt you. I
Closet
just
eat.
I just I just gave a whole bunch of stuff, but all of those are relevant. Stand and smile. Be welcoming. That's about all I got. That's about all I got to offer.
Awesome, Kevin. Those are golden eggs that I hope any new vendor that's watching us will be able to latch onto because as practical as they are, they're the most important things you can do while you're there.
Presentation is everything.
Absolutely. Okay, buddy. I can't wait to see you at Transworld. It's not very far away. So again, thank you for taking your time out, and
My
we'll see you
pleasure.
we'll see you at Transworld, bud.
All right. Peace.